And I'll tell you, God, ugly. I can say this. They're no longer in business. God, ugly clothing. And you get some lady, hey, how's this top look on me? And you want to sell it because you got a whole shipment of these things sitting on the rack, right? You say, oh, you look beautiful in it. And then you go in the bathroom and you put your fingers down your throat and throw up.
Yeah, the old retail business. It's quite a business, that's for sure.
So I'm hoping, honestly, that I don't see it this year. I'm hoping maybe, like Steve Bassett's hoping next year, we'll get some more release. I just think because of our economy, you hear this, people? Our economy is about ready to take a dump. And I think right now that I don't think they want to bring out about UFOs because they all know, come on, in Congress and the Senate know that we're in deep shit. Because, the housing prices are dropping, like in Seattle, for example. They're dropping in value fast all across the country, but Seattle got hit big time. Property values have really dropped. And now you have GM, okay? Ford lost $1 billion because of the tariffs. Okay, GM is going to lay off, 20,000 people. Ford is talking about closing up some plants, laying off a whole mess of people. And a lot of companies are talking about laying off people. So all these jobs that were created, right, are going to fizzle down. And so what have we accomplished? And that's what I'm kind of worried about right now. I'm worried about us, and not maybe quite as much as I should be about UFOs, but I don't think because of our economy or what's going on, I don't think, the Congress is, and whoever in the government's going to just dump on the American people right now that, hey, we're being visited because we got a lot of problems that's going to hit very shortly.
Yeah, no, you're right. But the only thing I've heard coming down in January or February is the To the Stars Academy analysis of those metamaterials that the government confirmed they got from a downed UFO. They're actually studying that with Bob Bigelow's Bass Aerospace Company. And it'd be interesting to see what that metamaterials is made of. They've already confirmed that the isotopic ratios of these materials cannot even be made or put together here in this galaxy. So that's going to be a fascinating thing, probably coming down in January or February.
Well, have you noticed, I don't know how much you go on Facebook, Michael, but Bob Lazar, because of the documentary, it's come out, the movie about him, there seems to be a lot of people putting articles up on Facebook slandering him, and calling him a fraud. But, like I mentioned earlier, Knapp did a very good investigative, background on him, found proof he did work in Area 51, and found other proof that he claimed what he did. But you know what? The government is really good. If they want to discredit you, they got people out there that'll do that in the media, and they'll discredit you. When it comes to going up to a college that you went to, hey, how many colleges get funded by the government or gets grants from the government? So all they have to do is say, hey, this guy never went to your school, correct? Give us the records. Right. If you don't do it, well, you're not going to get any funding anymore from us at all. That's all gone. It's dried up. So I think, they did a major smear on him because he came out, originally behind a voice simulator to change his voice on Art Bell Show originally. He got more creative and more, but his story has never, ever changed at all. It stayed the same from the beginning to back then to now. And, he's not, like he said, he's not going to tell people lies and make up stuff just because they want to hear stuff. He can only give the information he can give out and what he knows. And he wasn't privy to everything about a UFO. He was only one little subject on a UFO he was working on. One little subject of it, not the whole thing.
Yeah. No, if there's one thing I want to see before the end of the year, it's Jeremy Corbell's new film on Bob Lazar. I can't wait for that thing to come out, and I think it's going to be interesting. From what I have heard Jeremy talk about, the producer of this film, it's going to be a shock to some folks.
Well, I tell you, if if Bob comes on my show, excuse me, coughing here, comes on my show here in the near future, then I guess maybe you should be on the other end as my co-host, because I think there's a lot of questions, that are not been asked of him. Because you know what is strange? You listen to him when he's on all these other talk shows. He says the same. I guess what do these hosts do? Listen to his old shows and write down all the same questions and ask the exact same questions?
Yeah, well, see, they've got sponsors to deal with. They've got handlers to deal with. And that's one nice thing about Night Dreams Talk Radio, is that we can actually drill down to the real facts and ask the right questions at the right time. So I would really look forward to being your co-host on Bob Lazar's show. That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, because I got a lot of questions I want to ask. And, like Steve Bassett told me when he was on my show, I think the second time he's been on 3 times. He said, every show he's been on, he's asked the exact same questions over and over and over again on hundreds of shows. Yeah. And when I had him on, we talked and I asked him those same questions. But then halfway through it, I started asking him other questions. And then he started talking about a whole other interest of his life that he's never talked about on other talk shows. That's what I like about our show, our network, that we can do that, because, people are real, and they and that's how you find out about the person, is by, asking other questions other than the basic same questions that everybody else asks.
That's right. Yeah. And I remember that second show that you mentioned, and he just lit up like a Christmas tree. He was just on a roll and giving you information that I have never heard anyone get out of him on a radio interview. So that was an awesome show.
Well, I liked it. Even the last one he was on, we talked about the subject, and then we went off and talked about his other interests, and we talked about what's going on in the Middle East and, all this weird stuff. And, he was more than happy to talk about it because nobody asked them the questions. So, I mean, there's more than, talking about and, going to Congress and trying to get Congress to talk about UFOs. I mean, there's other things about the man and other men that, are just as interesting and just important and needs to get out.
Yeah. He's very multidimensional himself. He's been in that Washington, D.C. arena as a lobbyist for many, many years. So the things that he can tell us are very unique compared to, anybody else in that, East Coast kind of field. So it's fun to have him appear on your show repeatedly and be able to like it so well to come back for more.
Yeah, well, poor guy. But anyway, again, people, you need to listen to Michael W. Hall's show from 7 to 8 on Saturdays. He usually has Peter Davenport on, who runs the National UFO Reporting Center, and it seems like he has a lot of new cases coming on all the time, including lately aliens walking on our planet and people seeing it. So I don't know, how much of it you can buy, how much is people's imagination from watching TV or watching sci-fi, or are the aliens trying to let themselves be more seen? And again, we go with all the missing people on our planet is scary. And the missing people in our country is scary. Not just in the forest, but all over. I mean, even if you live in a major city, people are disappearing with no trace. Now, are they being abducted? And are they the ones that are unlucky and not being returned to their bed?
Yeah, exactly. Those are the kinds of statistics that they don't want to put on the mainstream news media during prime time. But there is just David Paulides, talked with him last last summer, and he's written all these series of books about people disappearing. But you're right; it doesn't have to be in the national forest or up in the woods or the mountains. It could be anywhere at any time. It's just that it's not reported. Those things, those statistics are misleading that they give you in that regard. So I don't know what's going on there in the background. But it sure is something that we need to pay attention to. And most people in the old days would just kind of, give you this smirk and not give you a time of day when you mention those subjects. But I think the agendas are melting. I think people are becoming more intelligent, and their consciousness level is rising very quickly. And I think they're demanding more and more truth be told, and I think it's healthy for us to know what's going on.
Well, wouldn't you want to know of all these missing people, if a big percentage of them are being abducted and never returned? I think maybe somebody in the government or shadow government or whatever, the men in black, whatever you want to call them, know what's going on, because it's just too many people missing. And that kind of scares me when I think about that. Like going out for a long ride out in, the desert on a motorcycle at night, and you're riding and wonder, hey, gee, maybe I could be abducted. If I do I get returned back on my motorcycle, or am I gone for, forever? I mean, it's just too many strange things going on. And, we need that information. The government, if the government knows that people are being abducted and never returned on top of it, we should be knowing that.
Well, yeah, and we have probably been, experiencing these things for a long time. Even yourself, Gary, have got an amazing story of seeing an unexplained, silent, bright light stopping your car in the middle of the desert, and I swear there's probably some missing time in your story, but that's just one of the ideas that a lot of people out there have these experiences, and now they're kind of getting corroboration from other sources as this disclosure. I call it soft disclosure at this point, but it's definitely being disclosed, some of the things that are going on out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of hair-raising.
Well, that's why we need your show on Saturdays, okay? And thank God you have Peter Davenport is willing to come on and tell the listeners what's going on reports, because I really think we need it. Not a 5-minute little thing, but maybe 15 minutes, a half an hour here or there, or whatever. I mean, people want to know what's going on, because you're not finding it in the newspaper, what few newspapers that are left. You're not finding it much on the TV channels, on cable channel news. You're not finding it much on main media. Of course, you find a lot of crap on Facebook, I will say that. But people want to know. I want to know, and I'm sure you want to know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to convince Peter to come on my show more often and for longer periods of time, because like you mentioned, he has reports, lately of actual alien sightings in Oregon, in the Midwest, people actually coming across that are sober-minded individuals, because he follows up and, makes sure they're not just trying to prank him in this regard. And they are coming out with stories that are more alarming every day of not only UFO sightings in close encounters, but actual alien entities as well. So it's fascinating stuff. I'm looking forward to filling out the rest of the year here with you, and then going onward in the new year with whatever's going to happen down the road.
Okay. Now tell everybody before I let you go, what night during the week they can go on Facebook Live, and where can they find you, and what time?
Okay, well, on the UFO team, they can find us Monday nights, 6 to 8 p.m., that's Pacific Standard Time, on Facebook at the UFO team Facebook page. I is a lowercase I for investigation team. And also, of course, you've got my Saturday night show on Night Dreams Talk Radio Network at 7 to 8 p.m. on Saturday evenings